It's not from here. It's from that side.
There is a phone somewhere.
It's see exactly.
Oh, okay. I forgot this one here since the program on Monday.
Sorry to come and ask the Indian part of the festival.
So fortunately, you guys have to use. Welcome to our week-long celebration of poetry at Nipofest, Nigeria Poetry Festival. As you know, we have kicked off the maiden edition of Nipofest this year, 2022, and it started from the World Poetry Day. So once again, for those of you who did not hear us say it, Happy World Poetry Day. It's still something I will say days after Happy World Poetry Day. I have guests in the studio because on World Poetry Day we made a statement under the Nigeria Poetry Festival that the government should activate the National Endowment Fund for the Arts in Nigeria. In 2020, the Honorable Minister for Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, said they had enacted or set up an endowment fund for the arts. And 2 years down the line, we have heard nothing. And we were calling on the Honorable Minister, we are still calling on the Honorable Minister, that this is a very important thing, very important step he has taken, and he needs to do more to activate it. So with me in the studio and then online, there are artists and critics who want to talk some more about this. My co-hosts, who is also a big-time theater practitioner, poet, and promoter of arts, Jerry Adeshowo, is here with me. He's also
thank you.
He's also one of the trustees of the Nigeria Poetry Festival and the artistic director of Aroja Theatre.
Good morning, viewers, and happy World Poetry Day still.
Yes. Yeah. So. And then with us also is Abdulaziz Abdulaziz. He is a journalist, a literary journalist, and also a poet, I think. Yes. And he's with the Daily Trust. He has been here due to the various issues and challenges we've had. The show didn't start on time. However, Abdulaziz has been waiting. He will talk with us, and we'll go sometime in the middle of the show, but we're glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you here.
Yeah.
And good day, viewers,
yeah.
And happy World Poetry Day.
Yes.
As we celebrate the week-long event. And thank you to the Nigeria Poetry Festival for organizing this week-long commemorative event.
Yes, thank you. And then we have Salamatu Sule. Salamatu Sule, as you all know, is a literary agent. That's one thing she does very well. She's also an editor. She's a curator of writings, you know, getting other artists to be visible. But is also a very good poet in her own right. Salamatu, you are most welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And happy World Poetry Day,
Yeah.
people.
I think are you the guys who are online? Are you hearing, or should she pick up the mic? Maybe she use the mic.
Okay.
Just
So happy World Poetry Day.
yeah.
It's been a long week of celebration, and we hope that this year's Poetry Festival will be very impactful, especially to people at the grassroots level, because the change we've all been talking about, we're trying to see how poetry can further help us achieve that. So happy World Poetry Day.
Thank you so much. We're also going to have Dike Chukwumerije online. Dike is the founder of Simply Poetry. He is one of the most widely known poets in Nigeria, especially for performance poetry. But you need to also read his prose fiction. He's the author of Urichindere, a hilarious literary work. But he hasn't joined yet. We have Dr. Ismail Balagarba. He's online from Bayero University, Kano. And Dr. Ismail Balagarba is also a poet and literary critic. So quickly, let's run straight into, let me ask Abdulaziz, because I don't want to miss his perspective. Straight away, what do you think? Why is the National Endowment for the Arts so difficult in Nigeria to establish and operationalize?
Thank you very much, Diego, for this question. Actually, I feel that the hesitancy, the delay in activating the endowment fund in Nigeria is reflective of our priorities, how we prioritize things in Nigeria. And perhaps with all sense of respect, I would say it shows that over time the government has always put arts down the rung of the ladder in terms of its priority. And that is why you see that over time there is no deliberate effort on the part of the government to support art in whatever way, and also to even institutionalize certain things. Only a few days ago, I think earlier, around Monday also, I was discussing with colleagues in the office about, we were discussing some African countries and how, that's even in Africa, how some countries, like say, for example, Senegal, Ghana, Gambia, and the rest, really invest and promote arts and culture. And that has become even an industry on its own in these countries. And I was saying that even if you have a guest now, maybe a visitor from a foreign country, and he comes to Abuja and he says, please can you take me to your art gallery, for example, or museum, or things like that, you have nowhere to take the person to. So I think this lack of prioritizing the arts, creative arts and culture industry is what is the main reason why perhaps we have not seen the operationalization of this problem, of this fund, because this is something that ought to have happened a long time ago, and then it has become sort of a tool for political statement, occasional political statement, and that one even is occasional. So once in a while it's mentioned, and then nothing happens. Because at the same time, of course, I know that as a journalist, I would say that we should not be oblivious of the fact that there are resource challenges for the government. But then a lot of the things don't really require some ingenuity, and also at the same time, even with the resource challenge, you could see so many other things that may not even be as important as supporting arts get funded by the same government that complain of resource challenges. So in a nutshell, I would say is this problem of prioritization. And for me, since you asked the side around how to go about it, I would think that if the government is serious, even if it doesn't want to bring out money from its own purse, it can actually spearhead a sort of fundraiser to institute this endowment fund. Because if the government is seen taking a lead I'm telling you that a lot of corporate organizations will come forward and chip in to support a fund which can be managed by an independent body, and then the government gets that thing off its neck.
Yeah.
So I feel that is another way around to going about it.
Okay. Okay, let me talk to Salamatu. Salamatu, does that mean that our advocacy strategy isn't right as those who have been championing this? I don't want to ask Jerry yet because he has some other strong opinions on it.
Okay, well, so the endowment for arts, right, is a two-traffic way, as I see it, both from the government side and from the art advocates angle as well. Because, for instance, we as a people who belong to the creative, we have also refused to come together as one to talk about how this endowment for the arts can further be put into perspective, the right perspective. So we are waiting on government to do all of this. In other climes, you find out that government does not even have opportunity of venting into their arts because they don't want it a kind of adulterated or polarized in terms of politicizing it. So what they do is to do private public partnership. So the government only has right to certain things when it comes to art. But whether or not there's that bill had passed the second reading, yes, it has passed. The minister had also said that this endowment fund will be released to you. But how long is it going to take for us to access this funds is another thing that we may have to be debating for the next upcoming years if we don't put our house together. So this, I think, is very, very much profound, and it's imperative that we note that we also have our own share of the blame in terms of getting things done for ourselves. If you look at the Nollywood industry, things are beginning to work the way they want because they have refused to go by the rules of the government, or else much more recognition than other subgenres like fiction, like poetry. But of course, then, if these other genres are not well harmonized with the theater, there's no way we can all get it right. So who gets this percent, who get that? So I think that might also be troubling if we don't come together to discuss how we want this to go, really.
Okay, Jerry, do you agree we are not together, and that's the problem? Because do we have to be together as creative artists for this to work?
It's interesting the way I have been ambushed. Yes, I mean, that is the truth.
Yes,
we are not. The creative industry, we are not together, in all fairness. Okay, I'll give you an example. We have the National Association, for instance. Let me use theater that I am very much familiar with. You have the National Association of Nigerian Theater Arts Practitioners. You have Society of Nigerian Theater Artists. You have theater and movie, multiplicity of associations, organizations representing the same trait.
Interest,
the same interest. And so when governments want to play divide and rule, it is very easy. Whatever it is you are about to do, die a natural death.
Which of them is against having a national endowment for the arts?
None of them.
So why can't they come together?
That was 2016.
Yes.
So 4 years later, the same minister,
Yes.
the same minister, not another one, pushed this. So you can, and then in the first instance, this was what happened that caused the problem. When the National Endowment Art Fund was put together, there was this issue of who controls it, and which, as is mentioned earlier on, an independent body.
Yes.
But government wants to manage it.
Yes.
And the art industry
Community.
said no. Government, yes, it is government that. That was actually what stalled the first attempt. And since then, it has been difficult to agree to. At a point, another group of people came up, and then you have what they call a Mopicon bill, you know, which
That's
is
a
more
movie
of movie
producer,
producer. So our not being able to come together is actually a major issue.
Yeah.
Because government uses.
Abdulaziz, now, so should we change strategy? Is it that we are also having a difficulty in strategizing? Like, people establish their own private museum, their private art galleries, and all of that. Should we try to get patrons of the arts to establish a fund, and then we all come together and manage it the way we want to manage? Would that be a way to go?
Well, that's a strong possibility out of the logjam, but that is not also an elixir. It may not be like something that.
Sorry, because if you look at movies, people went in before Nigeria started getting proud of Nollywood. Private efforts went, and then they showed the way to the government.
And that's what I'm saying. For example, now another thing. Let's take the example of writers' residency.
Yes.
For example, the Ebedi writers' residency is an example of how a private initiative can blossom and grow and all that. But you know, that's maybe because it is one person.
Yeah.
But by the time you bring so many people and say, do these things, then it becomes an issue on its own.
Yeah.
Look at, for example, the writers' village, how it's become a polarizing rather than a uniting factor. So sometimes it's not as easy as that. But that be that as it may, I feel that in the absence of a serious government commitment, a good way to go around it is actually the private way. I agree that, but I think this is something that should be driven by people of maybe like minds. So if a group of like minds who are patron of the arts, who we have in abundance actually, can come together and spearhead this initiative. Perhaps since it's not coming from an organization or one organization or another, it may have less. It may be less politically inclined. So people may be more comfortable associating. For example, now if you have respected people like, say, Professor Femi Osopison, even Dr. Wole Okedian, Dr. Bukar Usman, these are people that are not, are respected in the arts community, and they also have some contacts in the outside world who can, maybe come together, champion something like that, and get it done.
Okay, so that's pointing the way for us, right?
Yeah.
Salamatu.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, so why don't us even why we have not yet been able to access this funding. So I think by the time we review it and get the right or key people to sit down on the table and decide for the arts, this is what we want, I think that would be a good pathway to unraveling some of the mysteries behind why this is being stalled. And like I keep saying, this is a country whereby we still do not have a national theater that is visible. The national theater that we have is still, in a way, shaky. We still do not have a cinemas that is nationally recognized. So why is this so? If we can review the bill, then we know that, okay, this is why Nollywood is thriving. Could this could this endowment something also have covered them? To what percent? So by the time we begin to look at this, maybe somehow we get solutions to some of these answers.
I think I should add very quickly, like you mentioned again. For me, apart from the fact that our houses are not in order, the primary reason for me, personal opinion, was what you mentioned earlier on. Priority of government.
Yeah.
All over the world, yes, there are corporate organizations, but government still lead the way. Government still create the enabling environment. All the policies, without government's ascension, assenting to those policies, they become useless, and even the corporate organization will not have the boldness to come into the into the play. So I think for me it's still a question of priority. If like other nations, you mentioned a couple of them, even in Africa here, if they say anything today, before you will mention Nigeria, except for the exploits of some individual, you will be talking about South Africa, you'll be talking about Senegal. They are so, it's so. During COVID, South Africa protested that the welfare package they are getting. Did anybody get any welfare package within the creative industry in Nigeria? I doubt, except like we're saying, some people, for the benefit that they were in a committee.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the stories that came out of the committee, we also know. I don't know if it's something for the public, but you can understand what we are talking about. So government still have a major role to play, because in the long run, this is a revenue generation industry, even for the nation. Yeah. And even without, it's a garbage in, garbage out. Without investment or without adequate investment from government, government is already reaping from the entertainment creative industry.
That brings me to the point we'll discuss after the break, which is those who use the services like multi-choice and all of that. Are there opportunities for us in terms of solving this problem, like Netflix and all of that? We'll come to that after the break. But I want to thank Abdulaziz, because he needs to step for another meeting. Thank you so much for coming. And when we return, then we'll continue with the conversation. Thank you, Abdulaziz.
Thank you.
It's SARS on the beat, it's SARS on the beat. The boys must go down, pull the trigger on repeat. It's SARS on the beat, it's SARS on the beat. The boys must go down, pull the trigger on repeat. December 31st, 2018, Yinka Badmus was arrested for carrying dreadlocks. He was locked up for 14 days. No justice. March 31st, 2019, Kolade Johnson was shot dead somewhere at a viewing center. And right now, somewhere in this country, there's a heart beating at a gunpoint. There's an index finger ready to open fire. There's a mother dancing to a dirge. She skips, and still ends up with the same song made by disc jockeys who know how well to play mixed feelings at the funeral party. Gone are those days when our streets are decked with burning desires. Now they are littered with burning bodies, fading into hashtags. AK-47 looks like a special number rendered by a boy who just escaped death from people that are supposed to protect him. We have only dead walking boys left. There are no right here, no dark horses, only nightmares. Bad news, same station with the only cast here. Man down, boy down, blood on the streets. Still the media give us no bullet points like empty magazines. And you claim to take the bull by the horn. You cock, and both story. We all know, scratch that. I know that you have the spirit in your gene, we just give up the ghosts. You burn down the jungle and expect the trees to stick with you. What do you shoot to kill? What do you apprehend at will? Interrogating our existence, what do you question in vain? There are bleeding boys in your custody, you keep red blood cells. We look at our future with eyes semi-closed like a pack of stoned faces, color Stevens. We are martyrs in our own country. We know the exchange rate of death on the black market. We know how to buy silence with sirens, our hair caught in the moment. Weird, right? Yes, with dreadlocks. You tell us to have visions, then you judge us by our looks. Tell us to go digital, then lock us up for owning laptops. We are tired of running for our own lives, of using the same hashtag like the catchphrase of an unanswered prayers, of hoping that someday in this so-called free country, we get to have some chemistry where our lives won't only matter in the grave. I am Akweya.
I hope you enjoyed that poetry by Akweya that is really speaking to the whole NSAS and all of that, the protests. We're back. We said in this conversation about the National Endowment Fund for the Arts, we are thinking of alternatives. If the government is not as serious as we expect it to be, what are the alternatives? And before we went on the break, Jerry had raised the issue of the users of the products. So Nollywood, Rock TV is using a lot of Nollywood products, MultiChoice, Netflix has come in. There are so many. Is there a way that the National Endowment for the Arts can take from these organizations, maybe some parts of their profit, they can get it tax exempt, you know? Is that a possibility? Let me even ask from Salamatu before I go back to Jerry. Yes.
Okay, right. So this is the thing. I keep saying that give them that visibility. So if the consumers are, you know, enjoying the benefit of our entertainment, both from the Nollywood aspect and from other spoken word artists, it therefore means that there is need for them to also give back to the industry. How they intend to give back to the industry is something that we need to also sit down and put things in order, because if we don't do that, they will continue to consume this and we won't have any say in it, because after all, we don't even know who initiated the whole thing. That those who have, you know, put their energies to bring out these products, how much do they get? And many others to come. So those are the things that we need to prioritize right now and see how we can then formally address the issues, because if we don't address them, they will keep compounding and we may not be able to do that. For instance, Lion King, I keep using the Lion King scenario. Okay. You see that Lion King has a cinema that runs 24 hours. There are critics every day. There are adaptations every day. I think the recent one was the one by Beyonce, right? So if we're going to review all of that, we know that she did not just pick up the adaptation and then went to studio to do it. There must have been certain processes to even adapt from anything like that. So I think the problem now, as far as government is not paying attention to us, we also need to put our house together. Yeah. And by the time we're able to put our house together, we can confront the government to say, okay, we want access to this. And this is why we're asking. Yeah. Because we have already looked at the whole document. Does it benefit us as creatives? Because if it doesn't benefit us as creatives, then we can have a way to further, look for a way to cut down the excesses from people who goes to Netflix, from all of other of those channels as well.
Yeah.
So, because I know we pay multi-choice, even most of the entertainers pay multi-choice
For airing of their stuff.
Of their stuff. This shouldn't be so. So if we're able to do it either by taxation or whatever rules that we set out, we must unanimously agree that this is what we're taking back to the government. So that's what I think.
Jerry.
Sometime back in 2018, I think the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, was speaking at an event in Lagos, and he made reference to the fact that by the records available, the entertainment industry in Nigeria, which we would prefer always to call the creative and cultural industry, made a 5% contribution to the GDP. Available statistics. If we had the right documentation, it's much more than that.
Yeah.
Now, that is without any investment from government.
Yeah.
So what we are seeing is direct foreign investments. I hope my economic is correct.
Yeah. Foreign direct investments.
Foreign direct investments from organizations like Netflix, like MultiChoice, who are actually not Nigerian companies. They're not.
They're not of Nigerian origin.
They are not.
But they are Nigerian companies because they're registered in Nigeria.
Well, because they're registered here. You know, but you see, you also agree the fact that they are doing that as a, for me, it's still as a direct. All the registration here is because they must do it.
Yeah,
and that was where we got to with the issue of Twitter and government. Got to the point that to continue to operate,
you have to register
here.
Yeah.
So what we are saying now is that no, this is nothing, you know, because whether we like it or not, kudos to Netflix, kudos to MultiChoice, because their involvement in our creative industry has helped to keep a couple of people going.
Yeah.
A couple of, I mean, maybe 1%, but yes, under that 1%, people like Kunle Afolayan, people like what is it, Kingsley Ogoro? So that Bolanle or St. Peter's, another production is coming off. Some people are earning a living.
Yeah.
And then by extension, if they are patriotic Nigerians, they will pay tax.
Yeah. If. Okay.
They will pay tax.
Yeah.
So it means to a large extent, government is probably reaping where it has not sown.
As usual, I mean, we see this even in the sports sector.
Sports sector.
Almost everybody that represents Nigeria in every sporting event often does so with personal efforts. There's no. You look at even the way, like, you come to football.
Yeah.
You just a footballer that has made his name somewhere. You just invite him to come rip him off. That's all.
Yeah.
But there's no developmental.
So the
support.
argument for me would be, like Salamatu ended, see, government still need to, it's garbage in, garbage out. As developed as the entertainment industry in those other countries are, government is still one way or the other involved. Danish Arts Foundation, for instance, because we were talking about how to raise the fund and talking about independence of it, it is not run by anybody within government.
Yeah.
Is a collection of professionals from different fields. Iran, as much as people look at Iran as a warmongering weapon of mass production of destruction kind of this thing. I was in Iran and see they invest in the cultural sector.
Yeah. Why is this investment in the cultural sector important? you and I may think, but I'm just asking for the benefit of those who are outside. Why is investment in the cultural sector important? Why do we keep harping on this?
It is important because it helps to stimulate the art scene. And art is an employer of labor.
Okay.
So if you are talking about job creation, let me still use theater, which is my fault. A cottage theater, a mini theater like what we have at the Brazilian embassy, 120, 150,000,
150 seaters,
has the capacity of employing 40 persons, Nigerians.
How do they get
full
paid?
Time. That's where I'm coming to. Now, I run a theater outfit.
Yes.
There is not a single theater space in Abuja. We use halls, auditoriums where you have to pay like 500,000 naira for one show. So if I don't do show once in 3 months, you understand?
Yeah.
These are the reasons. But where you have a place like that, around the clock, producers of theater, of content, they have a place to use, and it comes to them at a very affordable. Not the hall that is for conferences and weddings, but they prioritize. Even Abuja Council for Art and Culture prioritize wedding ceremony to art events. To art events. So, and it is also because when we look at the external perspective of it, is the fact that through all of our art engagement, art activities, one of the things we do is a promotion of the culture of the country, of our people, and all of that. I will cite a South Korean example. A South Korean theater company produced a play titled Nanta Cooking. It's a play. It's just a comedy. It's a comedy that is set in a kitchen where these event people got contract to cook for a wedding, and the whole of this thing very comical. And that production today, because it represents the Korean culture, it projects the Korean culture, government latched into that production, the Korean Tourism Organization, and it become an attraction that runs for 3 years, every day, non-stop, except for Mondays.
Wow.
Only Mondays, because Monday is like Sunday in Korea.
Okay.
You don't work on Mondays, you work like half days. So 6 days every week for 3 years. So when people come to Korea, you must see that production.
Wow.
It is packaged so that you must see it. So it became a product, a content that the government endorsed to promote Korean cuisine and the rest of it. So, and that's the kind of thing you want to see, because it has a way of stimulating the art scene. It has a way of creating job. It has a way of also projecting the image of the country. I mean, many more, because today we are talking about youth restiveness. If we have in each of the area councils in Abuja, for instance, like Ambode tried to do, or did, not tried to do, he actually did. He built 6 theaters. And he promised to build another 6, but unfortunately, he didn't live to see the second. He didn't see the second. For instance, you have a cottage theater in each of the area councils. It has there is a level of contribution that it will give, especially for the young people in the FCT. So the benefit of it, honestly, it is not what you can play with. I don't remember the name of this guy who became the Prime Minister of Belgium, and he came and he said, look, I want a cultural center in every, what they call their own. Today, almost on every street there is a theater. Almost on every street there is a library.
They will say that's not our culture. Let me ask Salamatu. Salamatu, the author of Omar, the drama queen, then the orchestra of Our Last Rite. And you see what Dike Chukwumerije is doing turning poetry into something theater, performance. Does poetry really have that capacity, that performance capacity to enthrall an audience? Or is Dike Chukwumerije's style just a fluke, like it's just a flash in the pan and others cannot replicate it?
Poetry always have the capacity for performatory arts anywhere. Even if you're conceiving to write a poem, you must have in a way dramatize it before the pen flows to paper, right? But I think because one of the challenge is, where do I render my performance poetry like Dike is doing? Because Dike painstakingly had to start something from scratch. He had to create it.
Use his salaries.
Use his salaries. Use his energy.
Yeah.
I mean, fills his sleep. I use that word because everybody deserves to sleep, but Dike always tries not to sleep because he must achieve that for the country, not just himself now. Now, that is paying his few key drivers of the stage, actors and monitors, but it's still not enough.
Yeah.
It's still not enough because I don't know if the government is being intentional about not funding arts because they fear that some of their woes or flaws may be reenacted on the stage, which is true. But it goes beyond that. With arts, art for health's sake, art for agric sake, art for social development, art for the boost of economy.
Yeah.
They are not looking into all of that, and I think that they are doing a great disservice to themselves.
Yeah.
Because number one, like Jerry rightly noted, I want to see that organization whom the government has empowered to ensure the lifespan of the creatives continue to grow.
Yeah.
If NCSC's mandate is to do that, how much of it has it achieved? If the Ministry for Information is supposed to also see to it that arts help to promote health and other things, how much of the access have they given to artists?
Yeah.
If audio famous Hornbill House had to be pulled down because he was doing something so great, it therefore shows that the government has not yet woken up to appreciating what art stands for.
Yeah.
And until they are able to do that, the country will continue to suffer some setback as it's doing now.
Yeah.
So COVID happened, and what I see on TV is some funny animation that does not even resemble our culture.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have people who can deliver all of this. So why are they not tapping into this enormous gift that we have to further promote the artists and their organization? So Jerry will have to maybe if he has like 10 production for the year, he'll have to put cut it down to 3 because of funding. But British Council comes and takes our idea. We're always very happy to go and do things for them at a very how do I put it? Yes, peanuts. Yes. So how can we own up? Because until we're able to own up to our arts and guide it jealously and punish anybody who uses it without our due permission, then we cannot go anywhere. So today, Dike is doing what I called mobile poetry, delivering certain messages. I think now his focus is on the PVC.
Okay.
Yeah. So how can we also go beyond that? Because there are a lot of messages that should be going around now. So unfortunately, the social media is our biggest theater, where we go to do whatever we want to do. But are those who are really supposed to receive our messages receiving them? No. Jaguar and the likes of Chika Opala, Zebrudaya, we no longer have such Samanja. We no longer have such sitcoms again because the government has forgotten about them. And they have also forgotten the role sitcoms like Village Headmaster played and that of Magana Jarichi. So until we're able to own up in a way and to also force the government, because we have to force them, it's their duty to invest in the arts, and they must invest in the arts. But how we intend to get them to buy this idea is another thing altogether. They pay much attention to Nollywood today because they know that worldwide everybody is recognizing Nollywood. So we also need to do that and see how we can get things done right.
Thank you. We should be preparing to go in a few minutes because the conversation, we need to carry it on further though. I don't know if anybody from online has made any comment from the platform. If Dr. Olai Fatimain is there, there is also Ismail Balagarba, both of them from the BUK. Dr. Olai Fatimain is one of the trustees of the Nigeria Poetry Festival. Welcome, sirs. Any comment before we round off the show?
To you all. Thank you, Salamatu, for your insightful comments. I hope you can hear me. Hello? Hello? Usually it becomes difficult for me to be heard once Ismail Vala is on the same platform as I am. I don't know what the deal.
It's not my fault. Don't blame me. It's not my fault. Blame your network.
So Ismail Vala is tapping from my network and is not allowing me to be heard. Anyway, so the Nigeria Poetry Festival continues, and I'm glad that we are beginning to discuss the criticality of performance poetry, of individuals, you know, people who have stayed with the arts and who have been promoting the art. I'm glad that Salamatu spoke about the issue of funding and how the artist bears the brunt and sacrifices a lot, even before he gets to be heard in the first place. Today we celebrate Dike everywhere, but if you should hear his story, you will know that it is one that is laced with sacrifices, with frustrations, with disappointments even, right? But the good thing is, with diligence, the art stays, the art survives. So the matter of the National Endowment Fund for the Arts is one that is of great essence. And it so appears that there is little we can do because everything is left to government to decide and to execute. So we just pray that we will get a government that is really, really genuinely interested in the arts and in its efficacy and capacity to effect change and bring about positive developments to the nation. Just yesterday, was it yesterday or day before, I listened to the new governor of Anambra State, and he is particularly excited about the arts, you know, about promoting the arts, especially in his state. And this is something that is highly commendable. And it is our hope and prayer that as individual artists, we will continue to do our best and stay on track and sacrifice if we must, while we hope that government will provide the enabling environment for each and every one of us to thrive and for the arts ultimately to become a buoyant industry. Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, as we're about to go, I really need to just give a roundup of the activities that have happened so far and those we're still expecting for the Nigeria Poetry Festival. Makurdi, on the World Poetry Day on Monday, Makurdi held their poetry performance event, the Makurdi Center, And that was led by the Hilltop Creative Arts Center in Benue and the Benue Poetry Troupe. And they did a great work of mobilizing and performing poetry at the Aminu Isa Kontagora Center, the theater. That was great. So if you were in Makurdi, please do share, and you can search social media for hashtag Nipofest for some of the activities that held there. We also had the one here in Abuja, and then Kaduna had 2 days of Nipofest activities. They had the workshop. They had a workshop for poets, young poets, and they had performances of the poetry, and the things went on and on. Hanifa Abdurrahman in Kaduna, well done, you and your team of the Hilltop Creative Arts Center. Katsina also, yeah.
Session.
Yes, Katsina
also had a session with poets.
Yes.
That was yesterday.
Yes.
As part of the Nigeria Poetry Festival.
Yeah. And the next set of activities will be on the 26th, which is on Saturday. Saturday. There are three actually. There's Mina. So Mina Center will be having their activity. There will also be Adamawa on the 26th. There will be Bauchi on the 26th. Kaduna is also having something again on the 27th. You know, Kaduna is very vibrant. So do watch out for all these. The plans are on the platforms like on Splendors of Dawn, the Aroja Theatre. If you search for Nipofest, you're going to see some of the activities built for the days. Kano, Jalingo, Kano is on the 1st and the 2nd of April. They are having 2 activities, one of them featuring Professor Ibrahim Malumfashi as guest speaker. So do watch out for that. And we're going to be bringing you all of these also on Akweya TV from time to time. You can follow these whole activities on youtube.com/Akweya TV. The live stream is going on right now, and you can share it and subscribe. Yes, so this is where we are going to come to an end in this discussion for Nipofest today. I'd like to thank Salamatu Sule, author of Orchestra of Our Last Rites, and Oma, the drummer queen.
Thank you very much, and happy World Poetry Day.
Yes, happy World Poetry Week, actually.
So it's World Poetry Week, and I think it should be, or we should keep it consistently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And our co-host and fellow trustee, Jerry Adeshewo of Aroja Theatre. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Like you said, it's a week because incidentally, that same 20th happened to be World Storytelling Day.
Yes.
And then 27th is going to be World Theatre Day.
Yeah.
So World Water Day. World Water Day. So the whole of this week from the 20th to 27th usually is what ITI called the World Performance Week. Because poetry itself is a performance. So
yeah, it started from performance.
Happy World Performance Week.
So thank you very much, and thank you to the crew from Isu Media and Akweya TV, Paul Liam, the head of operation, to God's Will, Sani, and Jackson Ode, Kenneth Nwachukwu. They have all been wonderful, and many more behind the scenes. I hope Afeme, they are all doing great. So do keep a date with us. We shall keep bringing you updates. Thank you from Nipofest.